It's a decision that always starts with love. Maybe someone's recovering from surgery, or they're just getting tired. Maybe you've noticed the stairs are getting harder to climb, or the stove hasn't been used in weeks. And so, as a family, you gather around the kitchen table and talk, gently, carefully, about what's next. The idea of a nursing home comes up, not because anyone's failed, but because everyone's trying to help. It'll be safer, someone says. You'll have everything you need: meals, medication, company, care. It all sounds reasonable, kind, even. And so sometimes a person says yes. They pack a bag, lock the front door, and move into a place that promises peace and structure. But what most people don't realize is that the decision to go into a nursing home doesn't just change where you sleep. It quietly rewrites the script of your life. And the changes come slower than you expect, but deeper than you imagine. Before we dive in, if you find comfort in honest conversations like this, hit subscribe. We share stories that don't just pass time, they help make sense of it. At first, the change feels almost like a vacation. Someone brings your meals, your bed is made. Medications appear on time in little cups. There's no pressure to shop, clean, or organize, just a calm, curated rhythm of scheduled activities and polite reminders. But after a week or two, something strange starts to happen. You stop checking the clock because there's nothing in particular to be on time for. Morning, afternoon, evening, they all begin to blend together. The days stretch long and soft, like a hallway with no doors. You find yourself staring at the TV, not really watching, or sitting in a chair by the window, unsure how long you've been there. No one's doing anything wrong. The staff is kind. Your needs are being met, but the hum of your own life, the small sparks that made each day yours, starts to dim. At home, even on a quiet day, there was always a reason to move. The plant that needed water, the laundry that had to be folded just so, the neighbor who might wave from across the yard. In here, those reasons fade. The routines you once shaped now shape you. Wake up, breakfast, group activity, lunch, nap, dinner, lights out. It's efficient, well-intentioned, and eerily hollow. One man told me once, "I used to be the narrator of my story. Now it feels like I've been written into someone else's." That's the first shift. Not dramatic, not tragic, just the quiet erosion of days that once had meaning, now replaced by days that simply pass. In the beginning, the phone still rings, a daughter checking in on her lunch break, a neighbor calling to say the mail still comes, a grandson's voice full of background noise and weekend plans. And the visits, at first, are steady. A familiar face brings flowers, sits in the chair beside the bed, chats about the weather and the latest family drama. There are hugs, a few shared laughs, and promises. We'll be back soon. And then, time does what it always does. A busy week turns into two. A birthday call is replaced by a text. A visit gets postponed because someone caught a cold or had to work late. It's not that they don't love you. It's not that they've forgotten. It's just that they're still in the current of life, rushing from errand to errand, dealing with deadlines, trying to raise kids or manage bills. And you're not. You're in a place where time has slowed down to a crawl, where days are quieter and people move through them like shadows in soft shoes. There's a woman named Miriam whose story stayed with me. She once looked out the window and said, "It's not that they stopped caring, it's just that I stopped being part of the story." That's what happens when you move from the center of your family's world to its outskirts. You don't vanish, you just become quieter. And while people still love you, still think of you, the rhythm of connection fades. Until one day, the calendar is blank. The phone doesn't ring, and you catch yourself sitting by the window, watching the parking lot. Not for the view, but for a familiar car that might never come. It's a loneliness that doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like patience or silence, but it's still loneliness, all the same. There's a saying, use it or lose it. And nowhere is that more true than in a place designed to take things off your plate. At first, it feels like kindness. Meals brought to your room, laundry done for you, a gentle knock at the door when it's time for your medication. You don't have to worry, you don't have to plan. But slowly, that kindness turns into stillness. You walk a little less because there's nowhere in particular to go. You reach for fewer things because someone's already brought them. You stop insisting on doing it yourself, not because you can't, but because it's easier not to. And then, one day, without quite realizing how it happened, standing up takes effort. Your hands feel slower. Your balance is off. There was a man named John, once known in his neighborhood for fixing just about anything. Broad shoulders, firm handshake, always moving. When he first entered the nursing home, he walked in on his own. But 6 months later, he was using a walker. A year in, he was in a wheelchair. Not because he got sick, but because he stopped moving. The body isn't designed for passivity. It thrives on motion, on little acts of resistance. Getting up, lifting, reaching, climbing stairs, kneeling to tie your shoe. Without that gentle daily friction, the muscles forget. The bones shrink back. The mind follows. And it's not just physical. When you stop making choices, what to eat, when to shower, how to spend your time, you lose something else. Your sense of agency. I've seen sharp minds dull, not from dementia, but from disuse. People who once debated politics and told stories now stare at the TV, unsure what day it is. It's not about intelligence, it's about need. If nothing requires you to stay sharp, to make decisions, to engage, you start to drift, not because you're weak, but because you're human. There are things you lose that no one really warns you about. Not the big things, like your car or your kitchen or your garden. Those are obvious, expected. What slips away quieter and cuts a little deeper are the small dignities, the private ones, the parts of living that feel ordinary until they're no longer yours. At home, you could shut the door. You could take your time in the bathroom, sit in your robe a little longer, walk around half-dressed if you wanted to. You didn't have to ask if it was okay to shower at 2 p.m. In the nursing home, privacy becomes a scheduled privilege. Someone knocks, but sometimes they come in before you answer. Someone helps you undress, not out of disrespect, but routine. Even when they're kind, and most are, it's still a moment of surrender. You stop doing things on your own, not because you're incapable, but because that's how the system works. You're slotted into shifts, checked off on charts, and eventually you stop asking for little preferences because it feels like making a fuss. It's fine, you say, even when it's not. Ruth was once a teacher, proud, articulate, never one to mince words. Someone who knew her well shared a moment they overheard. Her voice, quiet but firm, saying, "Please, just wait a minute." She was being helped with something personal. The aid meant no harm, but what Ruth was asking for wasn't assistance. It was dignity. A moment to collect herself, a little space to remain who she was. That's what people don't talk about enough. It's not just that you lose access to your things. You lose access to your timing, your pauses, your choices about how and when you want to be seen. And you learn quickly that speaking up too often makes people label you as difficult. So you stay quiet. You adjust. You learn to disappear a little, not because anyone is cruel, but because the system doesn't leave much room for you. Most people think, if it doesn't work out, I'll just leave. That was the plan, wasn't it? Try it out. Give it a few months. See how it feels. But the truth is, once you step in, the way out isn't nearly as clear. Your old house may still be there, but it feels further away than ever. Maybe the utilities were shut off. Maybe your kids started cleaning things out, thinking they were helping. Maybe someone suggested selling it, or already did. You tell yourself you could move back, but then you start wondering, can I still cook for myself? Would I be safe alone? Do I even remember how to manage all the little things again? Fear becomes the quiet gatekeeper. And then there's the body. The longer you've been out of practice, lifting, walking, organizing, driving, the more foreign it feels. Muscles you used to rely on now ache with effort. Stairs look steeper. The world outside the facility seems louder, faster, less forgiving. I heard about a man named Luis who checked into a facility after a bad fall. He was confident, told the staff, told his family, just a few weeks and I'll be home. But like many, he found that getting back out wasn't so simple. But weeks turned to months. The fall healed, but his confidence didn't. The routines of the facility took over. And eventually, he stopped talking about going home. Not because he couldn't, but because it felt too far gone. That's what happens. The longer you stay, the more the edges of your old life begin to blur. Friends stop calling as often. The house sits empty, gathering dust and doubts. And the idea of returning to independence starts to feel like a story from another chapter. People don't tell you this part, not because they're hiding it, but because they don't realize how real it is. Moving in feels like a choice. Moving out starts to feel like an impossibility. I want to be clear about something. This isn't a condemnation of nursing homes. Many of them are run by people who care deeply. They work hard. They do their best with what they've got. And for some folks, especially those with serious medical needs, a nursing home can be a lifeline. But too often, people walk through those doors not because they must, but because it feels easier, because they're tired, because their families are worried, because they're told it's the next step. And sometimes that step is taken before asking the deeper questions. What am I giving up? Can I get the help I need without losing my home? Without losing myself? The truth is, there are other options. Home healthcare, community support, shared housing with dignity intact. They may take more effort to arrange, but they let you keep something precious, your agency. If you or someone you love is facing this decision, I hope you pause. I hope you look at every possibility, and I hope you don't mistake convenience for care, because your routines, your independence, your little daily freedoms, they aren't just background noise. They are the texture of your life. and they're worth protecting. I've seen what happens when people give them up too soon. I've seen what they lose and how hard it is to get it back. So take your time, ask hard questions, get creative with the solutions. And above all, don't let fear or guilt make the choice for you, because the life you're living now, it matters. And holding on to it, even just a little longer, might mean more than you think. Thanks for listening, and if this spoke to you in any way, I'd be honored to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep talking about this, openly, honestly, and with care.